Today we're going to learn how I used Adobe Photoshop to create this series of drawings showing a fairy twirling around, and then converted them using Adobe Animate into this animation. I found an image online on a ballet site of a dance sequence, and I put it into Photoshop and created a new layer. And then on top of the first figure, I drew my own figure, modifying it, but basing it on the positioning of the first figure. Then I added another layer and did the next figure. And then I added another layer and did the next figure. So each figure is in a different layer. I saved it as a layered Photoshop file and then opened Adobe Animate and created an HTML5 canvas. One of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to import that image, that layered image, Photoshop image, to your library. You want to convert all the layers to keyframes. Make sure all the layers are visible before you do that, and you're going to convert each layer to a keyframe. You're importing it to your library, which is on the left. And what you're going to do is you just open up the folder and you'll see all the layers, layer 1 through 8 or 9. What you're going to do is you're going to insert a blank keyframe, and then you're going to add the first image to your timeline. Just drag it onto your timeline. You're going to want to click on the right hand side where it says scale content. Otherwise, your image could be too big or too small and go off the edge of your frame, which you don't want. What I'm doing is I'm pulling the first image all the way to the left of my frame, and then I'm going to click copy frame and then paste frame. So every frame of your animation you want to duplicate, so you have two the same. So you drag it onto your first frame and you hit copy frame, and then you hit paste frame, and then in the next spot you hit insert blank keyframe, and then you pull in layer number 2 and you position it. Now, how do you know where to position it? That's where onion skinning comes in. You see how there's sort of a blue ghost image? That's called onion skinning. If you look on the bottom, there's a little place where you can click on it to turn on the onion skinning. And that'll tell you where the previous frame is. And later, once your animation's done, if you go back to adjust anything, it'll also tell you where your next frame is. So it's really useful for positioning your figures. So basically, every single figure, you insert blank keyframe, you pull the figure onto the stage, you hit copy frame, paste frame, and then next to that you insert a new blank keyframe, and then you drag the next image. When you're done dragging all of them, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the very first frame, you're going to click on it on the timeline, and then you click on the last frame on the timeline with the shift key held down. It'll select all of them, and then you copy the whole sequence of frames and you paste it onto the timeline after the last image. And then you have the same sequence repeated, and all you're going to need to do is go through it frame by frame and drag the figures to the right spot, because what you want to do is you want to have the figure start off the stage to the left and the last figure go off the stage to the right, so that they're gradually moving across the stage. That way you get a nice looping sequence. Once you've done that and you have a series of figures that goes all the way across the stage from the left to the right, you're going to find that your animation is really only 2 seconds long, which is very short. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start at the first frame, click on it on the timeline, then go to the last one, click on it on the timeline with the shift key held down. That'll select all of them, and then you're going to copy the entire sequence and then paste it again, until you have about 10 seconds of animation, I'd say. So once you have that entire sequence of animation, you're going to go to the bottom to the timeline, and you want to click on the layer and you want to add a new layer, and that layer is going to appear above your movement sequence, your figures. So you want to drag it so that it's behind them, because you're going to put in a background. In my case, I'm going to put in a green screen background. So I happen to have saved on my desktop a color green that's the same as a green screen like they use in movies. And I'm going to open that up, and I'm actually going to import it not to my library but to my stage. You want to import it to the second layer, the layer you just created, and then you're going to pull out the corner to enlarge it. And now it's on the stage. You don't want to import it to your library, but onto the stage. By importing it to the library, by importing it to the stage on the second layer, it's going to be visible in every screen. All I did was I'm now saving it to video, and I'm hitting export, save to video. However, when you do that, that's not the final step. You now have to go to the media encoder, and you'll see a little green triangle at the top. You have to click on that, and that'll convert it into a video that you can use. So this is my final video of my little fairy, and then I was able to use another program, a video editing program, to create the green screen effect of having the fairy interact with the flowers. And I'll show you that in another video. So this is the Helpful Art Teacher. Hope you enjoyed this animation tutorial.